On this episode of Wilson the VW Bus, I come this close to getting my hands on a sweet 1962 VW Beetle, and although I do not personally own it, it is still in the family. How, you might ask? Stay with me, and I'll tell you the story. Welcome back to another episode of Wilson the VW Bus, the podcast about me and my Volkswagen exploits. My name is Joe, and Wilson is the name of my 1967 VW camper bus. On today's podcast episode, I want to tell you the story about the little bug that got away. So, it's the last few days of January of 2024, and I'm getting messages from my son-in-law, Connor, about a car for sale on Facebook Marketplace. Now, there's nothing new with this. Connor and my son Zach and I regularly send each other ads and postings of cool vehicles for sale all the time. So he sends me a link to a 62 VW Beetle in Virginia. Now, I'm in New Jersey, which is only a few states away. And, he says, hey, this thing needs some channels, but good for you. As in, it's a good project for me. So the ad reads as follows. 1962 Volkswagen Beetle from Madison, Virginia. The owner, whose name is Devi, states, I have some life-changing experiences as of late and offering to sell this 62 Beetle. I bought it from the original owner a couple years ago. It starts, runs, drives, but needs heater channels, and I'm not sure what else. I drove it around to VW shows. I have all the paperwork and the window sticker. So this car is priced right, especially for a running, driving, early 60s bug. So I'm definitely interested in this car. And I thought, well, even if I didn't want another project, it would be an easy flip. So Connor says he's down for a road trip, and he's ready to go. I take a few minutes to research exactly how far this bug is in Virginia and where the closest U-Haul rental is and how much it's going to cost to tow the car home back here to New Jersey. I figure it's about 4.5 hours away and about $370 to get it towed home. Connor jokingly throws me a half-price offer and says that he'll give me that if it falls off the trailer on the way home. So I message the owner, and we arrange a phone call so that, we don't have to send 10,000 messages back and forth. Old school communication for two old guys. The owner's name is Devi, like the letters D-V. And he and I had a nice call about the bug. He sent me some detailed photos of the areas that I had questions about, like the heater channels. And I let him know that I'm scheduled to come down on the weekend to look it over and hopefully to take it home. I know it is difficult to ask someone to hold a vehicle, but I gave him my word that if he didn't sell it by Friday evening, that he just had to hold on to it for a few hours while we drove down to Virginia on Saturday morning, and he agreed that that was a reasonable request. He had dozens of other people interested in it as well, so I know that it was going to be gone pretty quickly. I showed a pic of the bug to my wife and asked her what her opinion was and how much she thought it was worth. Now, she just guesstimated the price, but it was almost twice the asking price. So when I told her what Devi was asking, she seemed to be all in as well. All the while that I'm on the phone with Devi, Connor, my son-in-law, is messaging me about the bug. He's very excited too. He texted me, I keep finding these cars and you want to buy them. To which I replied, well, maybe you should stop showing me things like this. And we laugh about it and agree to leave early Saturday morning. So later that day, my wife calls me and says, you're going to cause a family problem if you buy that bug. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? I thought you were good with the purchase. And she tells me, well, I don't care about it. And she says, it's not me. But after talking to my daughter and her husband, my wife feels that Connor really wanted the bug for himself. So I called up Connor and I said, hey, do you want to buy the 62 bug from DV? To which he replies, well, sure, if you don't want it, I'll take it. But I've already got Wilson, my 67 bus, and I know it's a very common practice for VW owners to have a bunch of Volkswagens in their stable, but I don't want to be greedy here, and Connor has been looking for a project car for quite some time now. So I tell him, of course, you should have first shot at this bug, at DV's 62 bug. But if you decide you don't want it, once we head down to Virginia and check it out, I'm probably still going to purchase it if you pass on it. So either way, I figure it's going to be in the family, right? So Connor reserves the towing trailer from U-Haul, and he gasses up his hybrid pickup, and he called up his father to join us for the road trip. So Saturday morning, 4:45 a.m., we grabbed our coffees, some road snacks, and we hit the road. Now, if you've never been to it, Virginia is a lovely state. And although it's only February 3rd and still pretty cold here in New Jersey, it's about 10 degrees warmer and nice and sunny when we get to Virginia to see the 62. And there it is, sitting on the front lawn of Deevy's house. It's been covered on the outside with black, flat paint. It looks like somebody rattle canned it. But the interior is still a beautiful shade of blue on the dash and the door jambs. And it looks to all be there. I mean, the glass, the trim, all of the interior. And it does need a little heater channel work, but the body, other than that, is in really pretty good shape. Deevy throws me the keys, and the ice-cold, stock 6-volt engine fires up instantly and just purrs. So Connor, he wants me to take it for the first test drive because I have the most experience driving VWs, which seems like a sound decision to me. And he jumps in the passenger seat. All the while, Connor's father is getting lost in Deevy's yard, checking out some old motorcycles and other junk. So we pull out into the street, and the Bug just cruises up the road without any issues at all, other than it being a little underpowered, as they all are, because it's the 6-volt, I believe, 1200 cc engine. It accelerates and shifts and starts and stops just as expected. So we go up and down the little mountain road there, a little in the hills, and after we head back to Deevy's, after the quick test ride, it's time for Connor to settle down with Deevy and set a price. Once Connor and Deevy close the deal, we gather up all the paperwork, and Connor hands him the cash, and we drive the Bug down the hill to the waiting U-Haul and the trailer for the trip home. We stopped at a McDonald's just a few blocks away before we made the trip home to New Jersey, and Connor has already had a few inquiries as to what year the VW is. I told him that he better get used to that kind of thing because, as you know, people are always asking you about your VW. Now, remember that on the way down to Virginia, Connor, Bill, and I were in Connor's hybrid pickup truck. It's a Ford Maverick. And we used up approximately 3/4 of a tank of gas to get down there. So on the drive home, Connor and Bill drove the U-Haul box truck with the VW on the trailer behind it. And I followed them closely in Connor's hybrid pickup, staring at the back of that Bug for all those hours as we head up on the highway. So to keep myself entertained, I actually tried to draft them and keep the pickup on the electric mode for as long as I possibly could, right behind the Bug, just for fun. So by the time we reached New Jersey, I only used a 1/4 tank of gas instead of the 3/4 of a tank. Not too shabby. Of course, it also helped that we were hauling around 2 other people in that truck. So Connor said he had a bunch of people wave and honk and throw him some peace signs on the drive home. Welcome to the club, Connor. Within the next few days, Connor had changed the oil, gone over the brakes, rebuilt the fuel pump because he noticed that the fuel filter seemed to be leaking down and it was leaking back into the pump. So he pulled the oil out again and rebuilt the fuel pump. But it was a German pump, so I think he rebuilt it with all the new gaskets. And he gave the little Bug a good once-over. Now, Deevy had told us that there was an issue with the starter, and so there was a little jumper wire under the back seat to use just in case the key did not start the Bug, and you just reached over and hit that on the battery. So we used that jumper for the first few days, but then when we took a better look, I saw a starter relay that was wired in line with the VW starter and that relay, along with a bunch of unnecessary wiring. So I showed Connor which wires and components that he should purge, and once everything was cleaned up, it looked and performed much better. Connor has already ordered all the heater channels and body repair pieces that he might need, but I convinced him to drive it for the spring and the summer first, and then we'll take a look at doing the body repair later on, maybe in the fall or winter. He's loving it, and regularly goes out for drives after work and on the weekends, and he has even taken it to be a centerpiece in his new family portraits with his wife, my daughter, and his 2 daughters. Zach, Connor, and I made a pizza run a few weeks ago, and that little old Bug had no problem running all around town, hauling the 3 of us in it, because we're each pushing 200 pounds. Now, across the street from Connor, his neighbor has a 1962 Porsche 356 Coupe, And he was excited to see Connor bring the bug home. But I have had my eye on that Porsche for a few years now. And the owner has told us that he's planning to sell it soon to put his kids through college. Now, I'm not sure if that Porsche is really in my budget, to be honest. I mean, I know what he paid for it, and I know what he's going to want for it, and I know what they go for. But I honestly don't know if I would enjoy that more than a nice late 50s or early 60s Beetle, and at probably 1/10 the cost. I'll let you know if that project ever pans out. For now, Connor plans on taking his 62 Bug to a few local events, and hopefully we will both enjoy a night at the circuit with our V-dubs together. Well, that's the story of the little VW that I almost had. But although it isn't in my garage, I still get to enjoy it with my family. Take care. Talk to you guys next time.